Welcome to Style Meets Sustainability, the podcast where fashion, ethics, and conscious living come together. I am Arpita, and today we are diving deep into the vibrant world of natural colors with someone who is transforming how we look at dyes and their environmental impact. Today's guest is Namrata, the co founder of ColorAshram, a natural color academy based in Mysore, India. With a background in sustainable practices and years of hands on experience, Namrata, along with co founder Arun, started this academy not just to teach natural dyeing, but to revolutionize it with science, soul, and sustainability. Their patented natural dye technology is opening new doors to a colorful yet eco conscious future. Let's welcome Namrata. Namrata, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here on the podcast. Welcome to Style Meets Sustainability.
Thank you, Arpita. It's a pleasure as well. I mean, these are things that really need to reach more people, and I'm sure that your medium is a very good method to reach many people.
I'm hoping the same. Let's just jump into the questions. What brought you and Arun together to start Color Ashram?
I think mainly the authenticity of our passion. So, both of us were, without saying the word eco friendly and all of those things, I think we wanted to do something ecologically safe and keep the water clean, keep the consumerism more meaningful. And I think it was really authentic for both of us. It was almost like why we live. So that's kind of, and then also our value systems, our philosophies were very in the same frequency, as I may say. And we understood the gap that we were filling for each other.
Can you tell me a little bit about your story and how did the journey begin in Goa?
Sure. So the journey of Goa began after, I think, 7, 8 years of working with each other before that, when I was in Calcutta and he was in Ahmedabad. And I kind of launched natural dyeing in Calcutta for him. And that's when I got to know him and the work better. And the reason that we found each other was really that I was looking for something where it was more meaningful. I wanted to be financially independent, and so I did want to do a business. I had been doing social work and theater and arts for so long, but none of this was really a financial method to be independent. So, and I did not feel like selling anything. I think I've always have had these existential questions about that. It cannot be that we are here for just consuming. It has to be more than that. And this meeting Arun and knowing the work kind of fell into place. And for him also, I think he had many several important moments being in Ahmedabad, which is the hub of synthetic dyeing, and he was recycling the waste of textile industry. And then when he found where the waste is actually going, even after recycling, when he was giving to industries, where does it really go? He himself witnessed these waste going into water, river bodies, and then the birds drinking out of the same water. And I think these were very disturbing openings for him, and he wanted to find some solution to removing the chemicals from the system.
You have said this was born out of deep existential questions. Could you share one of those moments that made you commit to this path?
So it is funny because I was reading Ayn Rand at the time, when I before I met Arun. And I don't know if you have read it, but the character of Howard Roark was really on my mind, and the kind of work he was doing, the kind of commitment he had towards what he really believed in. Those were the kind of things. And also, I was looking at consumerism around myself, and I thought that, my God, how many people are making clothes? Why are we wearing so much? Why are we buying so much? And I would actually feel very nauseous to go into a big market, leave alone like working in an industry. I could never imagine that. So these were some things which really triggered me. And when I got to know about the story of Arun's work, that was actually between our mothers. So his mother and my mother happened to exchange stories and meet after a long time. They were childhood friends. And like when two mothers are talking to each other, they really know about the child's emotional and spiritual journey, and kind of what drives them. It's not two salesperson or business people exchanging notes. So that story that came from his mother to me about his journey was as authentic as it went, and that's how I actually got on to working with him. And for him, I think witnessing what the dyes and the chemicals were doing to water bodies was a very, very disturbing moment. And so much so that he was emotionally distraught and he could not function. And I think that he went into figuring out what was the way. And just it so happened that his wife at the time found out about natural dyeing in a school. And I think it was just like, the when you meet water and you're thirsty, what happens? Like, I think that's what happened with him. So he went into learning about natural dyes, not being from this field at all, just coming because he wanted to keep the water clean. So that's how he got into it. And these reasons have been very strong for us. The reason to keep going for him for more than 20 years now, and for me for more than 13 years now.
That's like amazing story there, and it's like from a personal shift to a professional leap. What gap did you see in the industry that led you to create a dedicated natural dye academy?
The first gap was that nobody was talking about natural dyes. I'm talking about, I mean, Institute we started in 2019, but when I started work, it was 2012. And I think the fact that there were chemicals in clothes itself was a very big opening for me. I was anyway feeling very nauseated by clothes, and I was thinking, like, one thing I will not work on is clothes. I'll do anything else. And then when I found this was very challenging and new, the natural dye clothing, and I took up the challenge because I felt like nobody's doing it. First of all, I think I like to go the other way. If the whole crowd is moving towards this, I'll probably walk the other way. That's how I feel kind of interested in things. And secondly, because it was entwined with ecology and alternative living and my belief systems and philosophy of life, it really was like living in one box. I think that was really important for me. But in Goa, how we came about, like, it's a long story, but both of us chose Goa because it was a neutral space for both of us. He left Ahmedabad and I left Kolkata, and Goa itself is a very tolerant place. It has people from all over the world who come in. Everybody is accepted. The There are not so much polarized emotions and philosophies and ideologies about different things. So it is a very accepting place, I think, and it's a great place to start with something revolutionary, I would say. That's how Goa happened to us.
I completely agree with you about the chemicals being in the garment, and I realized that like later on in my fashion career, because whenever I was designing or whenever I was working with the colored dyes and everything, I've never thought about it like it's a chemical, it's going into the wash, and if everything pollution is happening, I've never thought about it because it's a very natural thing I was doing. So once I realized, I just completely shifted my gears and moved towards this eco-friendly and sustainable fashion and giving awareness to people. All that started then, and it was a tough thing for me to move from this to this because nobody wanted to look at what I was doing, because it's all like, don't do this, don't do this, don't buy so much, less consumerism, you have so many clothes already, so don't buy. So it was all going against the tide, as you were saying. Again, I also love to go against, people are going this way, I want to go that way, so I was doing all that too, so I can relate to you on that.
Yeah.
And now that we understand the why, let's understand the what. For someone unfamiliar with fashion production, how harmful are dyes, especially synthetic dyes, in the fashion industry?
Oh my God, there's so much. So let me just make it very simple. Where do synthetic dyes come from? They come from petroleum. Where do you find petroleum? It is deep, deep down. There is no proof of petroleum being allowed by nature on the surface of the planet. That itself should give us a clue. Earth, which is our mother and our source of life, never meant petroleum to be outside. So everything that we are making out of petroleum, whether it's plastic, whether it's dyes, whether it's chemicals, they are not easy to be digested by the living organisms. Nobody can break it down. Nobody can intake it and be okay. So there is a difference between poison and toxin. Poison is something that might be poisonous for some living beings, but for other living beings it might be okay. But it's essentially it is a part of the organic system, and some organism in the life of our planet, can actually digest it. However, when we talk about toxin, we really mean about something that is toxic to every and any kind of life. So there is no microorganism or an animal or a plant that can actually digest what we are making. First of all, the product itself, which is coming out of petroleum. Secondly, they are inorganic, extremely highly complex compounds. They are so mutated that the normal life organisms that are there that break down things in water and soil and in compost, they cannot actually work on these things. That is a very very big dangerous proposition, because nature really made everything where there was no waste. Whatever anybody would produce or consume, or after dying, somebody else would work on it and break it down and make it soil again or air again. So I think synthetic dyes are dangerous and toxic for air, soil, and water. I'll briefly tell you the maximum impact taker is water, because dyes, that there's so many water used. One cotton t-shirt we know in its lifetime uses, rather pollutes 2,500 liters of drinking water. This is a statistics that is well proven. It is so many videos on this and everybody would know it. So water is one of the major impact taker. When you think about now number of t-shirts in the world, cotton t-shirts, I mean, how many liters of drinking water do you think is getting poisoned? Absolutely. Then the soil. We all know that we live in the world of fast fashion, and there is everybody must have heard stories about landfills, and 70% of our clothing now is polyester, which means it's absolutely plastic. So when you're throwing these clothes in the soil, they are blocking the soil. Soil is 90% air. And if you're throwing more and more plastic or clothing or whatever in the soil, and which is not going to degrade in maybe 100, 500 years, it is a big problem. And the third thing is air. Of course, the people who work in the industry are the biggest impact takers in that sense, because that smell of chemicals and the petroleum based dyes in industries, if you've been to a printing unit or a dyeing unit, you would absolutely agree with me of that you cannot stand even half an hour, 1 hour in that smell. And you, when you come back, you will have headache, nausea. These are people who are working in this. And also a lot of these dyes keep releasing amines, which are some kind of a smell that keeps releasing from these clothes throughout the lifetime. So they are potential very very disease causing compounds, and they pollute air, water, soil, and of course our skin. Our skin is an open organ. In case we forgot about it, you can actually breathe through your skin if you close your nose. And so whatever we are putting on the skin is actually going inside in some way when it reacts with our sweat, when it reacts with the temperature and all of that. So I think all these four elements are getting polluted because of synthetic dyes.
I totally agree with you. I just can't say anything else than I agree with you, because I have been to these chemical units where the dyeing units where the chemicals are used, and as you were saying, it smells very bad. You can't stand there, as you were saying, and these people are getting direct impact. So that's very very sad. Let's break that down a bit more. What are the different kinds of dyes used in fashion today, and how do they each impact people and the planet? You already mentioned a little bit, but can you go a little deeper into it and explain?
Sure. So I would start with a question to everybody. Where are dyeing industries located in the world? And I cannot listen to your answers right now, but the dyeing industries are located in Southeast Asia, India, Bangladesh, China, uh, Vietnam, all these countries. There are hardly any dyeing industries in America, Australia, England, Europe, everywhere. There is very, very small amount of industry. The maximum dyeing happens in countries like ours. Why is that? That's a good question to ask. Because they would not like their water bodies to be polluted. So that is one thing to absolutely remember of why is it not being done in many parts of the world. Secondly, just like in cotton, if anybody has bought cotton, you know that you can buy a fabric 50 rupees a meter, and then you can also have this very good quality cotton which can be 200, 500,000 rupees a meter depending on the weave, the quality, and all of lot of things. Similarly, in synthetic dyes, there is a range of products which are available, from the cheap dyes which you can really buy for 10 rupees as well, to the very sophisticated dyes which very big companies who are exporting they have to use. The cheaper the dye, the more toxic it is. The cheaper the clothing, the more toxic it is. There is broadly, I mean, in terms of impact, cancer causing impact, there are two kinds of dyes. One is azo dye, which have been proven to cause cancer and are banned from exporting to any part of the developed nations. Then there is azo free dye. Azo free dye is basically removing some chemicals which have been proven to cause cancer, but they still have other chemicals which are allowed. And then organic certified dyes also, in which also certain amount of chemicals are allowed. So I don't think in synthetic dyes there's anything which doesn't have impactful chemicals. Then there are special dyes which are used to dye polyester. These are very, very different dyes and they work on very high temperatures. And this is a extremely poisonous dye category again. So for polyester, the normal dyes won't work. So there are acid dyes, basic dyes, dispersed dyes, direct dyes, all of these. And I mean, there's a lot of chemistry to it, but in a nutshell, I would say that the cheaper the dye, the more toxic it is. One very important thing is when small unorganized sector, even handicraft sector, which is using synthetic dye now, basically are very, very polluting because they don't follow any norms. They don't have an effluent treatment plant, by which I mean an ETP, which is a plant which is you're supposed to have if you're using water and synthetic dyes, because the water has to be cleaned before it is released out in the system. We have immense number of unorganized sector dying. Nobody has an ATP in this sector, and nobody really follows any norms of how much dye to use. So one is that the dye itself is very dangerous. Secondly, if you are a not so big industry, you're using just any amount of dyes, which means that there is a lot of dye which is unused and it remains in the water and goes raw into the system. Thirdly, you're not processing the water after you're doing all of that. Fourthly, you're using cheap dyes. I mean, bleaching itself is a very, very it's a very cheap powder to use, to make the clothes white. Whereas a conscious or eco-friendly brand would use different kind of enzymes for cleaning and bleaching, like hydrogen peroxide and more environment-friendly enzymes, not bleach powder. So, I mean, the list is endless. Yeah.
This is a scary thing to listen to, but I personally have experience with certain things I just want to mention here. As you were mentioning, when I went to work with handloom fabrics like kalamkari and all, I went there and I was working with them for a documentary. So they were explaining me that when the customer is demanding for certain color and in a very less time period, because these handlooms take a lot of time because they need the sunlight, they need to wash it and dry it, and there are many steps. So when they demand for more and in short period of time, these guys, generally everybody picks up the chemicals and dye them, give them back, and those people are happy, they're getting paid, and that cycle is the problem. So I personally feel the consumer has to change their mindset to ask for things quickly, and they need to understand all these things. Like cheaper means not good. It doesn't mean there is greenwashing happening nowadays. It doesn't mean that if it is expensive it is higher quality. That is also not there. So we need to, strongly feel that we need to educate all these people, the customer who's buying, who's using the end product. You have developed a patented technology to make natural dyes scalable and consistent. How does that work in simple terms?
I think I'll start from the thread that you started, that why do natural dyers have started using synthetic dyes? So there's already the segment of conventional dyeing, which is completely synthetic ever since industrial revolution happened. And then there were natural dyers, Kalamkari and many more people who have also started using synthetic dyes now. Why is that? It's because it is expensive, it is time taking, and also the consumer is not ready to understand the wash care behind these things. These are some of the major reasons, right? So when my partner Arun, when he started to look at the industry, he was looking at the industrial pollution, right? He was always working in industries. He was recycling the waste of industries also, rather. So he wanted to find a solution for industries, not for handicraft. Because handicraft industries are how many? I mean, how many clothes or fabrics do they make compared to the machine and the industry? So, if you really want an ecological solution, not a craft solution, not because it's aesthetically beautiful, but because it is very, very valuable as an ecological solution, you would look at finding a solution for industry. And that's what he did. So he's been a pioneer of industrializing natural dyes. So his starting point was to make natural dyes that can work on industrial machines. And so, in his journey of 15 years, he has understood that for that, the powders need to be in a form that they won't get stuck in the machines. So, in hand dyeing, you can actually have a lot of raw material and all. You can work with your hand, and that's manageable. But in machines, you cannot do that. So, working for machine, he made special powders that could go into it from the same ingredients. And so he did not change the recipes, but he's just changed the formulation and the way it would go in the machine. Secondly, he understood that industries work on a particular standard. So he has a lab where all the dyes, when they are made, they go through all the parameters which a proper textile dye or industry would demand. So it's wash fastness, wet fastness, all those kind of things. And then the biggest challenge of natural dye, because it is natural, it is like us. No two humans are same, no two fingerprints are same, no two dye sources are same, which means the content of dye can vary and it's very difficult to standardize it. Well, how do we do it? And why do we call ourselves standardizing? So it's because what they do is when they make a batch of natural dye, they test the color of how it is, with relation to the last batch or the standard that we have made. Then whatever ingredient needs to be added to make it a standard color, that is added. And so the whole production goes through a lab test. Okay, and that's how it has been standardized to a relative shade card which can work at an industrial level and which is acceptable by industry. By which I don't mean that we are acting or behaving just like synthetic dyes, but yes, we are not trying to change the system of the textile industry, which is the fastness parameters, checking the shades and all of that, how much variation is allowed, and all those kind of things, and how to scale it up to also make the dye in quantity that an industry would need. So, if we were doing traditional natural dye, we would not be able to do this. It's because we have moved beyond it. We have really innovated the process of making dyes that it can go into an industry, it can be scaled up, the production can be scaled up and standardize itself.
That's actually amazing news for the industry people. You have just given them a better solution, ethical, eco-friendly solution. That's like amazing. Can you explain how you create your natural dyes from plant to pigment? What ingredients do you typically use?
So natural dye is can come from a variety of sources. The maximum color that one finds in nature is yellow, and then a little less is red, and very, very uncommon and unique is blue, which you only get from indigo plants. As a natural dyer who would be just fascinated by the process, they would work on various kinds of flowers, fruits, trees, barks, leaves. All these can give colors. But then when you increase your inventory to such a huge thing, you cannot be viable industrial process, and you cannot standardize so many things, So what we have done is that we have reduced our inventory to very few sources. We fixed our sources and we stick to our suppliers as well. So we yellow could come from 10 things. We use just one thing which is there. We are using the same plants which are used, myrobalan, then pomegranate peel, madder, indigo, alum, iron, all these things, same things. But we have made our inventory very small. We made the combination recipe such that by just changing a few things here and there, just shade can change. So red, yellow, blue was the three things you need to have, and after that, if you do combinations, you can get more colors. You don't really need to have a source for orange. It's a combination of red and yellow that can give orange. So these are some of the ways why how we have worked on to make our pigments. We don't call them pigments, actually we call them dyes. Pigments are by definition they mean something else. Yeah.
So basically, you have created your color wheel with all the natural ingredients. Whatever you have mentioned, those are the very basic things which natural dyer uses. So this is amazing idea. Actually, I'm actually very impressed. Okay, do you use any kind of preservatives in the ready-made colors available at ColorAshram? How do you maintain shelf life naturally?
No, we don't. So, and you're not going to eat them. So, even if fungus comes on natural dye, you can still use it. We forget that this is not something you're eating. So, whenever if you use our dyes and you make a solution, after some time, you would get a layer of fungus if you've left it out for 10-15 days. You can just remove the fungus and start using the dye. The only thing is that the dyes keep getting aging and oxidizing with time. So, because of oxidation with the atmosphere, their quality will keep changing. But our powders are basically in a dry form, so you have to keep them in a dry container and it will last you years. After you mix water, the quality slowly, like any fresh fruit, will not last you. That way doesn't last. But then if you keep it airtight, the water in the liquid paste that we make, which we only make for painting and printing, dye powders are absolutely dry, and you actually have to preserve them without moisture, otherwise they become bad. So in the liquid form, we are using gum, natural gum also. And if you keep this in a cool temperature, then it can last for, we tell the shelf life is for 6 months. After you start using them and keeping them open more and more, they start aging and they have fungus and all of these things. They start fermenting basically. But fermentation as such is not bad for dyes.
Yeah, the fungus part is like new thing for me. I've never imagined there will be fungus. Yeah, maybe yes, I can imagine that. But removing it and using it's that's a new thing for me. Okay, you have actually built not just a lab but a learning space. You offer training for fashion and textile students, and even help conventional houses transition. What do you teach them at ashram?
Yeah, so we saw a huge gap. I mean, there is no mention, now there is some mention of natural dyes in all the textile and design colleges, but there is no curriculum, there is not a proper course. All the interns who come from these colleges, from NIFT and other design colleges to us, they have one thing in common that they say that they wanted to learn natural dyeing and they did little bit in a one theory class and then some from YouTube video and something randomly experiment, but they really failed at getting a good result and they want to go in depth into this. So one of the big reason is there is no curriculum right now based on natural dyeing. But as we are speaking, today only I got a call just like 2 hours before our session from Delhi that the government of education wants to introduce teacher training for natural dyes for class 11 in CBSE curriculum, which is a very good news for me, really, because I think this should be part of the curriculum because children and young people, I think when they're very young, they have this immense potential to think that yes, if this is good, why not this? As we become adults and we stop learning, we stop growing, and it's very challenging for us to shift our gears to do anything new. So, and forget about what it's going to do the nature and all of this. So I think the for young generation today, it's really important that they have a solution and a proof of that concept as well. So what we have at Color Ashram is my co-founder partner runs this company called True Tone Inc. And he's been industrially doing natural dyes for various brands, including he's given his dyes to Decathlon, Victoria's Secrets, Levi's, done dyeing for them as well. So many big players. So this gives a confidence to us as people who are teaching natural dyeing, because I don't want to theoretically teach a subject and tell them to make swatches and stick in a book and just do research and forget about it. We want people and designers to start their collections and clothing with this thing. So we have a proof of concept in the industrial work done by my partner. We ourselves keep practicing. So, I mean, a true natural dye teacher would be someone who is also learning and evolving and practicing, because this is a very, very evolving art and science. Like, if you are a tabla player and you stop practicing, would you be able to teach? I doubt so. So, it's not a theoretical subject. What we teach people here is from everything, starting from philosophy, trying to understand what is the intention behind the person who came to learn. Anybody and everybody who says they want to go sustainable in clothing and fashion, everybody is welcome here. So we start with understanding what they have in their mind. What do they understand by sustainability? How far are they ready to go? How far can they go once they begin here? So many people come with this idea and this fad in their minds, and it's excitement about this. This could be something new, but we really try to bring them down to understanding that it's a field that the path has not been made yet. Colleges are not offering this course, right? There are no jobs in natural dye field per se. If you learn also and you go and find a job, I doubt where you'll find a job. But this is a field which is very good for entrepreneurs who are visionary thinkers who want to do something because they feel something like that. It doesn't matter if it's not there. The good thing is that the need to go towards sustainable clothing and solution is very much out here. So it's a very, very good moment to get into this, because everybody is looking at this. The future of color is going to be in natural dyes for sure. So we teach them basically the basics. So we have a course which is called brand startups, to understand the chemistry. Even if they're not going to be doing dyeing, if they're just going to be using natural dye fabric from any dyer across the world, they should know what they can expect, how they can still have an ecologically safe natural dye, because natural dyes also use synthetic fixers. As you said yourself, when the color doesn't come, they will take a chemical and they will just use it. So, if for ecologically driven designers and brands, we tell them, give them all the tools to understand how to gauge whether what they are going for is natural or not. Secondly, I think developing the mindset towards not having these fixed ideas about shade, having the openness to shade changes, uh, becoming comfortable with the variety of shades that are available. Because right now this industry is very like in baby stage, I would say, because it's a revival, right? So when a lot of people are not working on something industrially, the developments don't happen. So there is a very limited shade card which is available, just because not many people are there into this. Once more people are there, we would probably have shades bigger than Pantone shades. So right now, given the challenge of number of shades available, the techniques available in which you can do and which you cannot do, many kind of these kind of trainings is what we give them. Then we also do hand holding if they want to make their first sampling production with us, if they want consultancy, if they want to start their own unit, if they want to transition their existing unit to natural dye. We don't tell them to change a thing. If you have a textile industry, you just have to change your mindset and the training of people to shift to this. The same machinery and the same space can be used to do dyeing. That's what we have done. We've not made new machines, we've actually made new technology for the existing machines, including screen printing, block printing, jigger dyeing, machine dyeing, pad batch dyeing, soft flow machines, rotary printing, all of this. The one solution that we do not have yet, and we have not done it yet, and we don't know whether it will happen or not, is digital printing. For that, we have no solution. Yeah.
I am actually very happy to know that government is taking those kind of steps, and you already found those solutions for the people to use. That's amazing. And what's the long term goal behind your educational model? What kind of designers or entrepreneurs are you hoping to shape?
I feel it will be right to say that the children and the young people of today's world are very well living in a place where they know that the world can end, that humanity can end. I mean, Earth will go on. I mean, Earth has gone on for so many billions of years more than us. We've been here for a very short time, but I think there's a huge threat to humanity being wiped out. We losing really source to proper water, air, and soil. We polluting our environment so much that it will become toxic for us to survive in it. So I think for them it is very it's a need of the hour to look for sustainable solutions. They are not impressed by, I mean, I was about to say polyester, but I think 70% of clothing is polyester, and everybody loves convenience clothing, not to wash, not to worry about, it changing in your wardrobe. But I think there is some restlessness and some question about like what will happen to humanity. So I feel like sustainability wise, people are very, very ready to look at solutions, and they want to know if there is a possibility to do mindful consumerism. I think consumerism is also reaching a point where products are not giving you satisfaction anymore as much as experiences, as much as knowing the story and the transparency behind what you're making and who's making it, how it is getting impacted. Because of so much of information technology, and I think with AI also, we're going to know much more. There will be a much more transparent system, is what I feel, where we will know what we are doing and what we are choosing, what we are endorsing. So I think if we are choosing something which is polluting, we'll have to deal with the water pollution and air pollution and all of these things. If we really want to be healthy, then we'll make the right choices. So, but the only thing was that sustainable brands and the people who are doing these businesses, I don't think that most of them have the stretch to really advertise and come out in the marketplace, which have become extremely competitive places, right, to be in. But luckily, because of social media, because of word of mouth, because of information technology, people get to know about people who may not have a huge banner about their brand, who may not be able to have a celebrity endorse their brand, but the stories are still reaching people. The only thing is that in middle of all of this, there is also a huge amount of greenwashing, and I don't know that how can we actually handle greenwashing. I'm also just still trying to figure out, and so we will also need some intelligence to actually check what from what. But I don't know. Have I answered your question really? I feel like I'm getting lost in my train of thought.
Yes, you have answered the question and you have given so much more information. Now I have some more questions. So
Okay.
as you were saying, the audience, the customer is already ready for this change. I have
Hmm.
spoken to some more youngsters in this podcast series, not this series, the previous series, where they've already know about many things. They were already talking about so many things. I was surprised, literally, and I corrected myself that I thought this generation doesn't know much about all this, so maybe we need to educate the younger crowd. But no, they know it already. As you were correctly saying, the social media, the platforms, everywhere, wherever they are present, everybody are talking about it, and these guys are trying to understand it, go do their research, and try to implement it in their everyday life. But at the same time, when you have the fancy fast fashion clothing available, they are tempted to go here because the natural things take a little more effort to wash, to care for, and all that. So they are going there. So now the mindset need to be changed, and if the whole industry itself comes to natural dyeing, natural fabrics, and everything, so whoever is buying anything, everything will be eco-friendly. So that should be the future, I feel personally. So let's zoom out from the studio and into your daily life. What does a regular day look like for you at Color Ashram? What keeps you grounded amidst so many activities?
Yeah, sure. But if it's okay, I would just like to complete the train of thought on what you were also saying
Yes,
just now.
yes. Go ahead, please.
But there's a question that, is there time for self-care in this time of climate change, crisis, and all of this? Because I think that nobody can compete and tell a human that you do something which will require more time and care, and not do something which is very comfortable, convenient. You don't have to worry. You can abuse the garment and nothing will happen and whatever. And you know personally, I mean, I think we all love easy solutions, fast solutions, all of that. But I think the restlessness which is there in nature right now, with all the other living forms, trees, forests, all of this, what torture we are doing as humans because of our need for, unstoppable growth, and greed, is I think we all share that restlessness, and there is a lot of huge amount of mental and emotional breakdown of people. There is a lot of care needed emotionally as well. And I think when we come to care, if we start caring about ourselves and our minds and bodies, we will see that it's very connected with the care of our planet as well. It is one and the same. And I feel that there will be like once we start caring and respecting our bodies, we will definitely respect sustainable solutions as well. Okay, so yeah, going to your other question about my daily life. So yes, I reach my studio around 10 a.m. My work starts in my home itself, with just looking around what I'm going to do. So when I go, the first thing is I take a tour of the space, because we have a close to 10,000 square feet space, in which 3,000, 3,500 is closed space. Rest of it is all open. There's a whole, like a just a land and some trees and all of that. So and because it's a big studio, we have a lot of things. I mean, any kind of craft and art place and a dyeing place would have loads of tools and things and stuff. So I take a round and I look at my things around, like which dye is remaining from yesterday, what was being done yesterday, what are the clothes hanging from the last day's work. All of this I'll take a look. Then I'll check with my housekeeper what needs to be done and all. And then with my dyer, I give them a line of work that needs to be done today. And then I sit with my team member, who is the admin person and manages our day-to-day work. We have a meeting and we discuss about what all. So I think for us, responding to clients is one of our biggest USP, and we love doing that. So because this is a field which is not new, um, no, which is new rather, and not many people know about these things. Like even when we're talking, you do feel that the certain information which is new, right? And so many more people do not know about that there are something called chemicals and there are something called natural dyes. So most of our audience who comes through WhatsApp, through Instagram, through calls, through visitors, we have a lot of visitors in Mysore as well. They are all first of all curious what this is, and they know they want to do something, but they don't know really what. So I think helping them navigate this space, we try to answer everybody who's asking us all kinds of questions. From, let's say, I have a wedding and I want to do a sustainable outfit for myself, to I have a homeschooler child and I want her to learn natural dyeing, to a brand who's saying I want to come for a workshop and I want to know if I can actually start my brand, to I would say a person who says that, okay, I have a kurta, can you re-dye it? So because we have opened all these options, I mean, this is what we have done to ourselves. So and for good reason, I mean, because we are one space which is like an open space for people to give any kind of solution. whether you want to get a natural dye fabric stitched, whether you want to get an old garment re-dyed with natural dyes, whether you want to start a brand of natural dye clothing, everything is what we are offering. Or if you're a homeschooler, so we have two homeschoolers who've been doing the journey for more than 7-8 months now, twice a week. So the idea is like we look at our schedule, what is on for today, and accordingly we prep for the workshop. If there are some people who are going to come in, we have a color bar and all those kind of things set up for them. If we have an order, then we go into the dyeing and printing of all of that. And we have a lot of interns all the time, so it's exciting to look into what project can we give them, and we constantly look at things around. So if there are fabric scraps accumulating, we're like, okay, can we make an upcycle product with this? If there are dyes left over, we'll see, okay, can we dye something, because this dye is left over, we don't want to throw it, can we reuse to dye something? And then so on and so forth, and also developing the space around us. So whatever we do, we keep putting it out there on the walls and making albums of things. And of course, making footage for Instagram is one of the biggest things. So because we are visually living in a world of colors and all this working is happening, it's always very aesthetically elevating to capture it and then to share with people. So yeah, that's the kind of, I think, things we do.
Okay, sustainability clearly isn't just work for you, it's a way
Yeah,
of life. What
yeah.
are some everyday sustainable habits you follow personally?
So I don't throw my food waste every day from the kitchen. I carry the waste to my ashram because we have a lot of garden there. So we compost all our wet waste. I don't use plastic personally. I carry cloth bags everywhere and reuse every bread packet or anything that come in plastic somehow. I will wash them and reuse. So if you're ordering something from me, you can actually get an upcycle packaging. You will never get, hardly you'll get brand new packaging. That is one thing. Then also, I think I don't order food. I like to either go out and eat in the restaurant or at my house, because I really cry to get plastic. Even though many people have switched to paper packaging, yet, I mean, just like my garbage bin is really small. Like we don't have waste. We have waste like once in 15 days to throw. We don't really collect waste at all. So I think that, and personally, I think I don't go shopping at all. Only and I mean, for clothes I have not gone for last 10 years now. I only wear natural dye clothing every single day of my life. And for other things, I think first I like to ask around. If I have a need, I will tell, okay, my birthday is coming up and I really need a backpack bag, so if you're thinking of gifting me something, this is the only thing you can gift me. People know that they cannot gift me anything unsustainable, so they have to literally ask me if I want something. And I'm very happy to pass on my things to people or take used things from people. So I would rather, I know that everybody has double and triple of everything in the house. There was a time when I left my home, left my marriage, and I was completely starting my life from scratch means I had no money, nothing, and only my ideology, my work, and everything. And I didn't have money to buy things, and I just asked my friends that, I need this amount of things. If you have, any of you have this extra, and that's how people gave me things, extra bed sheets, extra utensil, extra whatever, and I started with that. So I think we have a lot of resources. So sharing resources, not wasting them, using them really rather than putting them in. I mean, by principle, I don't have a loft in my house. I don't want to store things. I want to have one pair of things that I'm using and maybe one more pair. Other than that, everything else has to go to anybody else who can actually use them. Some of the things. Yeah.
Lovely to hear that. I keep telling everybody to do this. I've never met somebody who's already into this. I'm glad you told me all that. And the birthday gifts part, I I also do the same. If they have to gift me something, they have to ask me first. Not only for birthday, anybody coming home, they call me and ask me, "Can I get this? Can I get that?" I always
Yes.
say no because I already have so much which I am trying to get rid of, and you don't add to that, please. So
Yeah.
now everybody understands all that. So
Yeah.
nobody comes with a gift. So that's amazing success for me because family, relatives, everybody, whenever they meet, they want to gift you something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't know why they do it. I really don't understand. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just,
Loads of mindless activities, I think. Yeah, that's the biggest problem.
yeah, and they think being a fashion designer, I might need more clothes. I'm like, no, I don't need clothes. I really don't need clothes. Right now, I live with 15 clothes in my wardrobe. That also feels too much for me, overwhelming for me. But I'm going towards less. And I was amazed to listen that you have one pair here, second pair, and you just rotate. That's where I want to reach, but I still need some more time. Okay, let's talk about past journeys that shaped the present. You also started Biome Conscious Fashion back in 2012. What was that brand about, and why did you decide to close it? If I may ask about that, what did you learn from the experience?
So, as I said, when I started my journey, I thought that one thing I don't want to do is make more clothes and produce more things, you know. So, but then what happened was when I was selling just natural dye fabrics, people were really not understanding how can these light and dull and earthy colors look good. So I started wearing clothes myself, but also it was needed for people. So it's like when you don't have an example in front of you, when you don't have a like a really good example that is successful in front of you, you really don't believe in it that it would work for it. Like we were visually seeing outside, you know, we rarely question about are these chemical colors the only colors that we like? I think that's a good question to ask. Nobody has asked themselves, but we feel that these are the colors that we like. If you really can sometime have a chance to think about it, what if the colors were natural, and how would I like that, and what does this color really make me feel? There would be very, very eye opening answers actually. Nobody was understanding what these fabrics could become like. So I added design and styling. I think styling was more my thing, which I was doing with myself. And people would say, "Can you make me something what you're wearing?" I think that came too often. And then I started making clothes for people. So I made clothes only to have a proof of concept that natural like clothing can be fashionable and can look really good. Because I didn't want to produce too much, I never made pieces of one design. I would just have one off pieces. I would make a horizontal collection and then let people come and give an order in their size. Because I think making too many pieces for people to be available and choose and select, and then saying that, okay, but I like this, but can the sleeve be shorter or whatever? No, let's just start from there only. That was my idea. There was Biome for a long number of years, very, very custom clothing, no collections. But I did a lot of fashion shows. I did a lot of collaboration events with artists and different kind of techniques and all those things. We had a lot of fun doing clothes, but it was more customized and more to what people wanted to wear, like understanding their psychology, their background, whether they are allowed to wear what kind of clothes and what do they really need. So I think custom tailoring was one of the biggest thing that we enjoyed. And designing, we did a lot with interns who came. They wanted to experiment and make new clothes. We always love to make new clothes and then to style it on different people. But I think I always thought that everybody, I think most people can be designers and open brands, but I think there are very few people who want to do what I'm doing at ColorAshram. So I my thing is that if this is what I can do, other thing, men, there are many people who can do this. So I just did Biome as a proof of concept that it can happen and that you know you can do this, but it was a very, very small part of it. As I said, never expanded vertically, but my more desire and my calling was into education, so nurturing the brands. Even when people walk in today to the studio to do a class, we take them to the Biome. It's a small room, now we call it ColorAshram. So the small room where they can see varieties of clothes. So seeing is believing, you know, and understanding that, okay, what are the possibilities till you actually have not got into it yourself. And why I closed Kalrasham just now is just because of ease of operations. I mean, having two brands running is too tedious. I want to grow deeper into getting curriculum, going into international festivals, making, you know, of the national colors, all these things. So and I think majorly working on an ecosystem that can support natural dye entrepreneurs. So I have been a natural dye designer, brand, everything. I know the journey, I know what is the requirement. I would like to be the person who can actually see what is the ecosystem needed for such brands. How will they get support? How can people buy from them? So these are things that I'm thinking as well, and that's why we have clothing, but we have it under ColorAshram, and very small amount of clothing, but majorly looking at how can we nurture designers and brands.
Yeah, the way you were saying custom made garments, you don't want to make so many sizes for the clients to pick from. That's what I also believe in. That's why I never had a proper
Yeah.
boutique. Everybody asks me, that's the first question. When I say I'm a fashion designer, oh, do you have a boutique? I say no, I don't, because I don't want to do those many clothes and just put them there and just hope for them to sell, and I'm adding to the consumerism. So I thought, no, I should never do that. I've never done it. So I moved towards educating people about what happens, how to manage, and all those kind of things. Now I have a small collection, which is like a capsule collection. Like I have like 10 pieces. I just make those 10 pieces out of used garments. That's like upcycled capsule collection. So I show that collection to people. If anybody likes it, they buy it. But no one piece is available again, because every garment is unique in itself. So you can't make it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no mass production basically. So that's the whole concept of my collection as well. So it's nice to know that people like you are thinking all this, and you're putting it into the educational perspective, and you're teaching so many people about all this. That's really amazing for the future. And you also mentioned something called true tone ink. What is it, and how is it different from your other offerings?
So it's just a scale. So basically, we are doing teaching, education, hand holding, mindset changes for people who are starting or they are existing into textile and they want to go from whatever. When people want to do production and scale up, that's where true tone comes. So if a person gives 1 meter 10 till 10 meters order, we do it. But when a person wants to give 100 meters order, or they want like 100 t-shirts to be made, that's what true tone does. So it's a scale of operations. It's a bigger version of ColorAshram, but they are a proper professional industry. They're not there to teach people, we are there to teach people. They want their customers to first come to ColorAshram, learn about natural dyeing, educate themselves a bit, and then come as clients. Because when True Tone has been working for so long, they found that people start working, and because of not having any background of educating in this thing, because the colleges didn't teach them, the industry doesn't have much examples to teach, the government has never educated about this. So because of not having those backgrounds, people come with a lot of misunderstanding, and they expect the expectations are completely mismatched, because of which there is a fallout, there is a disappointment, there is a uh, feeling of challenge, and that you have so less to offer and all of those things. So before now they take clients and do that journey with them, they actually prefer that they come to ColorAshram. And then True Tone is just about delivering a scalable, standardized service which you can order again and again, and you can go from 100 meters to 500 meters, from 10 meters to 100 meters of dyeing, from making one garment to 100 garments if you need to make. So they are basically seeing how production viability can come in a system. So if a designer comes, they will experiment with us, but then out of that, which can go into production friendly process is what True Tone decides. Besides that, industrial training for natural dye application is what True Tone does. And also research. I mean, Arun is my partner, who's also been, their team has been responsible for making this dye. So even today, we are researching on dyes which are made from algae and microbes with a biotech team from UK, and we're doing this in collaboration. So they're making this algae based dye, and they're wanting us to research of how to apply it on textile. So we have a research part of True Tone, because they have a laboratory and everything. Whenever the research is happening, it can go through that process of a system. That's what that is.
That's amazing, and that new thing collaboration with UK is also really exciting. All the best with that. And as we wrap up, let's explore your broader vision. You have said this is not a war against synthetic dyes, but a movement towards accessibility and awareness. How do you see natural dyes growing in the mainstream fashion space?
Yeah, completely. I am not here to change anyone and to say that everybody should be doing natural dyeing. What I really want is that the information about synthetic dyes should go to all people. And after that, we as humanity, if we make a choice to go on with synthetic dyes, well, it's okay. We are all doomed. It's fine. We are all in it together. But I think if we do feel that, okay, if I know this about synthetic dyes and I would like to know about natural, what is the possibility of it, then there is something called natural dyes, and there is a work being done. There is a scope of, application. And we have something very beautiful which my partner and his team has done for so many years, and we've been doing. So we want to share this option with people. And then the choice is really on them on what they really want to do. And like I love the idea of competitive markets. Let there be chemical dyes, let there be natural dyes. Let's have a market where there's a place for everything and people can make a choice for themselves. But not having any support for in natural dye field, like from your family, from the government, from the textile laws and things and subsidies and all, that is actually not fair. So I think looking at my vision now, like having run natural dye space color ashram, doing workshops and all this for a lot of years now, I want to move a little higher. I want to go into looking at having a curriculum, because I'm not now going to go to NIFTs and other colleges to say that, okay, let's have a course. They already know about me. We've already approached. Their students already come for internships. And nobody has yet actually, I mean, we were ready with the curriculum. Nobody really invited us to bring it on their thing. They like it and they want to do it some point. I don't know when. So we're not waiting for those people. What we are wanting to do is we want to start a practical, not brick and mortar curriculum space, but a kind of a network with people like you and many other designers and practicing sustainability, people, learning from them and having a chance to become an entrepreneur in this, whether you are from textile, not from textile. If you get the logic of it, you should be able to work with it. For consumers as well, if they want to dye, they should be able to dye their own clothing. For education, homeschoolers, if they want to study, they should be able to study it. So that, I think, making that ecosystem available for people to learn and use natural colors is my thing. Also making a community for entrepreneurs, how they can sell better, because I think no amount of appreciation is enough. It has to be economically viable to people. People cannot run on passion. It needs to be sustainable. So how can we create these marketplaces where people can match, like people want to buy this but then they don't know where this is, so how can that happen together? So for all of these things, I am working on a thing called a Natural Color Festival that we do once in 2 years in a city in a big format, and we hopefully want to have other people do in their cities, where natural colors will be open to everybody to come and see what this is. What is this beast? What is the leg of this elephant, the trunk, and how does it look like? So that they get introduced to the subject and they can buy, they can learn, they can enjoy, they can paint, they can block print, do all of that thing. That's the festival. And then curriculum ke liye, I'm tying up with more practicing entrepreneurs, as I said, who together, like let's say 20, 30, 40 of us can together make a curriculum where one person actually learns with so many people different aspects of the business of sustainability. And I do want to find a young team who actually wants to take ColorAshram forward. I'm also looking at handing over, things from here on to the next this thing. So I guess these are things in my mind.
Very interesting things you have mentioned. And I have to mention one thing to you. I recently spoke to one of my batchmate who's already having his own school. It's called Indianium Responsible School for Design. So they do only indigo dyeing. They work on only denims. They're all doing all sustainability and everything. So he was at your space right now. How you are thinking? I want to build a curriculum. I went to all these big schools, design schools, but nobody picked it up. So he faced all that, and then he decided to start his own school, and he's running it for 5 years now. He's in Dharmashala, and he's doing amazing. And if you are interested, you can just watch our conversation on my podcast as well. So I could just relate to him when you were talking about all that. All the best for all the other things you are planning to do. And finally, what message would you like to share with young designers or anyone interested in choosing more conscious alternatives?
I think believe in your own compass, a path which cannot be seen. For that you need a vision actually. So you may not see what is very obvious, which is going to be the world has to turn sustainable. It may not be very visible right now, but if you have the vision, if you have the trust, and if it is coming, the intention is really because you really want to do this, just go for it. I think some steps may look like it's in the dark that nobody really supports, and it can be crazy at times when people around you don't really give you that same vibe that you're feeling. You have to have the courage to go for it, and things will work out for sure. I mean, it's only waiting for you to show whether you really believe in what you want to do, whether you have the courage. If you have both, there's no stopping you.
That's a great message for all the youngsters. Now, let's do a fun segment called Snappy Seconds. Quick questions, quick answers. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Favorite plant or flower to extract color from?
Matter.
Okay. One synthetic dye color you secretly admire.
Actually, don't. I'm very happy with the earthy shades. Yeah.
Okay, great. Goa or Mysore? Where do you feel more creatively alive?
Mysore.
One sustainability myth you would love to bust.
That it's not for me to change things, and how can I make a difference, and how can I really do anything. I think it's a myth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A book, film, or podcast that shaped your worldview.
There are so many, but currently two books I've been reading, which I really, really enjoyed, and they're eye-opening in terms of understanding what I already feel inside. Somebody else has kind of voiced and put it out clearly out there. One is Jason Hickel's book, which is called Less is More, and it is on degrowth.
Ah,
The answer is really in degrowth. And the other book is To Die For, DYE, To Die For, which is one journalist who actually researched on the dyes part of the industry. There is no book that I know of based on dyes itself. The
ah,
history of the toxic history of dyes, actually. Yeah.
yeah, amazing, amazing to know these books. If you
Hmm.
could teach one skill to every designer, what would it be?
To go by what you want to create. There is a market for everything. I don't
Mm.
believe in the view that what the market wants, you give them. No, you do what you want to, and there will be a market.
Yes, that's actually true, and I believe in that.
Yeah.
What's always in your work apron?
Um, Pencil.
Oh, nice. There was one designer who I just spoke to last week. So she was mentioning what are the tools which you always keep. Then she's like pen and pencil. I'm like, yeah, everybody, every designer, every creative person needs these things. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
The pen
Yeah,
is so disturbing because you have these pens that you throw. They're not meant to change the refill now anymore. Also, it's like really very disturbing to throw
I
pens.
know. The pens, you can't change the refills now. You have to keep buying the new pens and so much plastic again. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with you. The first thing you do every morning.
Have my morning coffee and almonds, and and my book actually. I love reading with my coffee.
Okay, that's lovely. I can visualize a lovely scene. One word to describe color ashram.
Revolutionary, evolutionary. I think
Ah,
evolutionary, evolving. Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
I think both. I think both.
Yeah.
What gives you hope?
Intelligence, human intelligence.
Hmm. Thank you, Namrata. That's where we end our conversation today. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for such a thoughtful and grounded conversation. Your journey is a perfect example of how innovation and nature can walk hand in hand.
Thank you so much for the lovely questions and your effort in framing these questions and going through our work and then making them so appropriate. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
So lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. To our listeners, if you have ever questioned how your clothes get their colors, I hope today's episode gave you a lot to think about. Until next time, keep it stylish and keep it sustainable. I am Arpita signing off.